Well, hello there, my beautiful and spooky friends. If this is your first time to my channel, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Emily, and today we are doing yet again another Spooky Sunday. This week's Spooky Sunday is going to be all about sleep paralysis, so buckle up and get ready. Let's go ahead and jump right on in. So in the US alone, 3 million people every single year experience sleep paralysis, which is a huge number of people. So many people go through it. It's actually way more common than you would think. And I personally have never been through sleep paralysis. I've been very lucky to not really go through it, but my boyfriend used to get it quite often, so I've been around it, and I've been around some people who have actually experienced it. Now, sleep paralysis is essentially the feeling of not being able to move your body when you are somewhat awake. So basically, you'll wake up in the middle of the night, but you won't be able to move your body, you won't be able to speak, you'll basically just be able to lay there and blink, and you'll have thoughts going, and you'll be able to recognize what's happening around you, but you just won't be able to actually move your body. So you're kind of just stuck there, paralyzed, watching everything happen around you. And sleep paralysis is interesting because it causes you to hallucinate, if you will, and it causes you to hallucinate some very, very freaky things. Many people have their own opinions on sleep paralysis, but nobody really knows the true core root of it or 100% why it really happens. Now, sleep paralysis can happen when you sleep on your back and you don't sleep on your side. It can happen when you are stressed out. It can happen when you have a lack of sleep. It can happen when you change your sleep schedule. Basically, when you go from sleeping a certain way to another, you risk experiencing sleep paralysis. Now, as I just said a few minutes ago, sleep paralysis can cause hallucinations for people who are going through it, and that's what we're going to be mainly talking about here today. Now, of course, the scientific community has their reasonings for why this happens, but nobody truly knows the core meaning for why sleep paralysis happens or for why people see certain things. And there are people in the community and who have been through sleep paralysis or who just enjoy studying up on it because it's so interesting. There are people who feel some type of way about the strange occurrences that go on when you experience a sleep paralysis episode. Everyone seems to experience the same thing, and many people chalk it up to the paranormal. Of course. Why wouldn't we? We do that with everything, don't we? And one reason why I wanted to talk about sleep paralysis today in Spooky Sunday is because of a personal incident that happened a few weeks ago that I'll touch on at the end of this video, but the other reason is because of a Netflix documentary called The Nightmare. And I watched this a couple years ago and I thought it was super interesting, and recently I've been interested in rewatching it, so I haven't actually done it yet, but I'm definitely going to be doing that basically as soon as I get this video up. So people see all sorts of things when they're experiencing sleep paralysis, but everyone seems to experience a very similar scenario, and some people even experience the same exact thing happening to them. One occurrence that's very popular is called the old hag, which sounds as terrifying as it actually is. Now, when someone is experiencing sleep paralysis and they run into the old hag, 9 times out of 10, they will wake up from whatever dream they're having or whatever sleep they're having, but their body won't actually wake up. So they're able to look around the room and kind of take a look at everything, assess the situation, but they're not able to actually move and get out of bed. And one thing that's reported pretty often when it comes to people who experience sleep paralysis is that they will see from the corner of their eye or from underneath their bed or from some dark corner in the room, they will see an old lady come out from the darkness and basically stand in front of them, and this lady looks horrifying. She basically looks like an old witch. She'll have long white hair or long black hair. It will be very stringy. It will be in her face. She will look very old and wrinkled and just like an old cartoon witch, if you will. And the witch will come over and get super close to their face and basically feel as if the witch is sitting on top of your chest and that she is basically pressing her body weight onto your chest and just looking you right in the face, like this close away from your face. And they'll just be sitting there, pinned down, not be able to move or scream or, you know, get up or yell or do anything to alert someone that might be next to them or alert someone in another room that they need someone to come in and say, hey, wake up, snap out of it. And they'll just have to sit there with this witch that they're seeing emerge from the darkness and emerge from the corner and just basically take it while she sits on top of your chest and makes you feel horrifically uncomfortable and scares the living daylights out of you. And so many people who go through sleep paralysis experience the old hag, and I think that that is really weird. I think that is so strange that they all experience the same thing. I mean, it would be one thing to experience like a feeling or experience like, I don't know, a sensation, I suppose, but the fact that they visually hallucinate and see the same exact thing is very, very questionable in my opinion. Now, many people do experience the old hag, but many sleep paralysis patients and people who experience it will also experience something equally as terrifying, which is the shadow man or the demon in the corner. I know, it sounds absolutely horrifying, and let me tell you, it is. Basically, the same exact thing will happen. They will see something dart across the room, but they can't really tell what it is, and it'll be in utter darkness, and this thing will basically emerge itself from the darkness and expose itself to you. Well, that sounds kind of gross, but it'll expose its appearance to you, if you will. And it will either be a shadow person, like a person who's got really long, stretched out limbs, who you can't really distinguish their features and they just kind of look like a ghostly shadow apparition, or it will be just a straight up demon looking creature that will emerge from the darkness and do the same exact thing that the old hag does. Basically sit on your chest and make it so that if you try to scream, you can't scream. If you try to move, you can't move, and they will feel the actual pressure on their chest, and it feels really, really uncomfortable, and they will see this demon or shadow person get really close to their face and like look them up and down and basically give them like an ocular check down, and they'll basically just be sitting right on their chest and no one can really do anything about it. Now, something that is interesting to note about sleep paralysis is because so many people experience this and see these paranormal entities and beings, many people who are in the scientific community or people who just choose to think more scientifically than more kind of fantasy and paranormal, if you will, like me, will chalk up alien abduction stories and seeing spirits and whatnot to sleep paralysis. But some people actually think that alien abductions might just be a form of sleep paralysis, which is a very interesting concept. I don't personally believe that myself because there's quite a bit of physical evidence when it comes to alien abduction stories. I sound like a crazy person, but there is, I promise, or at least I think there is. But I think it's an interesting approach, and I think it's definitely plausible because so many people do seem to experience the same type of entities and the same type of demonic forces, if you will, when it comes to sleep paralysis. So alien abduction stories could definitely be chalked in, kind of thrown into the mix as well, especially because so many people experience them and so many people experience the same type of alien abductions. Some people in the scientific community also believe that spirit interactions and people who claim to have talked to ghosts and talked to demons and stuff could also be chalked down to sleep paralysis as well, which I think that both of those thoughts and ideas are very plausible, and I think that definitely some cases of alien abductions and talking to spirits and whatnot could just be sleep paralysis. But I definitely think that there are some actual true people out there who have talked to spirits, if you will, and have been abducted by aliens or at least come in contact with aliens. But I think that some of the times that people have claimed to have talked to aliens and ghosts and whatnot could definitely be sleep paralysis. Now, besides wanting to watch The Nightmare, there was another thing that happened recently that made me want to do a spooky Sunday on sleep paralysis. And as I stated at the beginning of this video, my boyfriend used to get sleep paralysis pretty often, and it kind of stopped once we started dating, but he used to get it pretty often, and he doesn't really get it very often at all now. I think I've seen him have it maybe twice, and I've luckily been able to wake him up out of it. But about a week ago, in the middle of the night around, I don't know, 12 a.m. or so, I was researching some paranormal topics. You know, I'm just one of those weird people who likes to look into paranormal stuff when I'm bored, and when I'm bored at nighttime and I can't sleep, I look into weird paranormal stuff. That's just the kind of person that I am. And my boyfriend was asleep, and I was in the same room as him, but I was sitting at a desk and he was in bed, obviously, sleeping, and I had my headphones in, but I could hear him making some noise, but I wasn't super concerned about it, so I didn't really pay much attention to it. I got up, went to the bathroom, and as soon as I went to the bathroom, he called me and said, "Oh my gosh, I was experiencing sleep paralysis. Why didn't you wake me up? I was making noise. I was trying to get your attention," and I felt super, super bad. But the weird thing about this sleep paralysis is that he hasn't had it in like years, literally years, and he never gets it. And the odd occurrence is that I was looking up some really weird paranormal stuff, like demonic paranormal stuff, if you will. I was watching stories about people who allegedly have sold their souls to the devil, which is a whole nother topic and a whole nother story in itself that I don't really know if I'm ever going to touch on here on my channel, because I like happy and things of good light and good spirits, so I don't know if I want any of that stuff to be on my YouTube channel. But I was basically just reading up on that kind of stuff, and that's a very dark and demonic topic, obviously, and it's a very dark situation as a whole. And the fact that he experienced sleep paralysis for the first time in years and hasn't experienced it since then, while I was looking up this dark and demonic and, you know, situations about selling your soul type stuff, was very, very interesting to say the least, in my opinion. Now, honestly, it was probably a coincidence, but it made me want to look into sleep paralysis a little bit more and rewatch the documentary The Nightmare and make a video about it here on my YouTube channel. You know, just normal things to do when stuff like this happens. But that is basically all that I had to talk about here today on Spooky Sunday about sleep paralysis. I know that some of you out there who are watching this have probably experienced it yourself, so if you have any crazy stories and you feel comfortable doing so, please leave them in the comments below, because although it sounds horrifying and I really don't want it to happen to me or happen to anyone else really, I do think that it's interesting to read up on this kind of stuff and hear about other people's personal experiences. So if you have your own personal experience, I would love to hear it down in the comments below. But with that being said, that's going to be wrapping up today's video. I do hope that you consider subscribing if you have not already. I am doing Spooky Sunday every single Sunday, and during the rest of the week I got all sorts of makeup goodness happening here on this channel. So if you are not already subscribed and you would like to be, I would love to see you hit that button down below. I do also hope that you consider giving this video a big old thumbs up and turning on the notification bell if you enjoy my content and you would like to see more. But I hope that you are having an absolutely amazing and beautiful and slightly spooky day wherever you are, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time. Bye!